Only today I've been contacted by somebody in regards to a property that they're considering purchasing here in Paraguay. And they've raised a question with me that is really one of the most important questions that anyone can ask when it comes to the issue of buying property here. And I thought rather than just send off an email, it's better that I just do this quick video because I was intending to do this anyway. So just for context, this person is interested in a property here in Paraguay. They're wanting to know how to proceed in the hope that they can secure the purchase of this property. Part of their question is in regards to the deposit, what amount of deposit they should pay, how should they pay it? Well, let's just backtrack for a moment and just give a bit of background into some issues that relate to this very important question. For reasons best explained in a future video, let me first say that it's common in Paraguay that when you're buying property, that you pay a deposit not into an escrow account, but it actually gets paid to the seller, to the vendor. This has come about for various reasons. I'm still doing a bit of research to confirm why they are. Suffice to say, that is currently a common way of doing business here in Paraguay. In terms of the amount of deposit you would pay, it varies everything from a minimal amount to 50 or more %. There's no set amount that people are expected to pay in regards to a property in Paraguay. Regardless of where you're watching this video right now, when you hear of the concept that a deposit is paid directly to a seller, your ears should prick up because it's just not something that's done in most other places. We would generally pay a deposit into an escrow account, some sort of independent account, so that that can be held, and should anything happen in regards to the transaction, at least there's some safeguards in respect to what happens to that amount. But not so in Paraguay. Once you hand over a deposit to a vendor, you have created a situation where if anything goes wrong with that purchase, the chances of you losing that deposit are really substantial. The other thing is, if you are dealing with someone who is less than scrupulous and you pay them a significant amount as a deposit, it could potentially provide an incentive for them to find ways for the transaction not to proceed. It's regarded as good business for some people to take a deposit only to have a transaction fall over. So they're holding that deposit along with the deed to the property. A week later, they put it back on the market. It's a good day's work for them. Suffice to say, it's not a good idea to pay a deposit straight to a seller. If you are going to pay any sort of deposit, if that's what you're intending to do, the rule of thumb should be only pay what you're reasonably comfortable in losing, what you're willing to leave on the table if the transaction doesn't go through. Because there's a reasonable chance, for a myriad of reasons, that the transaction won't be completed. And if that happens, there's a very good chance you can say goodbye to your deposit. But backing up the bus one step more, before you even think about paying a deposit, the deed, if there's a geo-reference map for the property, you need to see that. It can also happen that sometimes people are offering properties that are not even entitled to be selling. So these documents are required and need to be assessed by an expert, a lawyer, I would suggest, in this country that you can trust to verify the documents and to ensure that the person who's claiming to be selling the property is indeed the person that's legally allowed to. So until you see those documents, I wouldn't even be thinking about a deposit. The consideration of how will you pay for a property? How will you actually transact that purchase in terms of transferring the funds from wherever they are to the buyer's account? This is a big question and it should not be underestimated or just taken for granted that you can do that, because in Paraguay there's some weird and wonderful issues in regards to banking, and it's not really the country's fault. It's more to do with some of the players on a bigger scale that are playing the games that they do. Suffice to say that you need to put some things in place in order to be sure that you can move money from a bank account, if it's not in the country, to a seller's account, if that's the way that the transaction's going to go down. This question needs to be answered before you even think about putting down a deposit or signing on a dotted line or committing in any way to the purchase of a property. It's something that we could easily overlook and assume that there must be a way. And that's part of the bias, the blind spot that we bring with us when we come from other countries, because there's generally a way to get things done in many other countries. And there is a way to get things done here, but it's not necessarily so straightforward, and things should not be taken for granted. So most definitely, before we even do anything else, we need to get that duck in a row. We need to make sure that there's a way to move funds. And that's something that we're doing a lot of work on behind the scenes. We're going to make some more videos about different ways that that can be done. And we're confident that there are ways through that process. But it's something that if you're caught unaware, it can hold up the process. And if you've paid a significant deposit and it holds up the process to the extent that the contract agreement is interrupted or stalled, well, a vendor may just be inclined to say, thanks very much, see you later, and there goes your deposit. It's just one of the many ways that a deal can fall over, and just another reason why we should not be doing anything until we've got these things sorted. We'll be making more videos about this very important subject, and to whatever extent we can, we want to positively influence the way things are done here in Paraguay. And the most important part of that process is to get this information out there and to get people thinking about better ways to do business. I'm not giving legal advice here. I'll just give you my opinion on the way I would proceed, and that is I'm disinclined to pay any deposit for a property, because if you ask me how much I'm willing to leave on the table, it's zero. But if I particularly love a property and I think that there's no other option, I may be compelled to pay a minimal amount. But when we're talking minimal, I'm really serious about minimal. I'm not putting anything substantial down. I'm not putting 5%, 10% if it's going to the vendor. No way. And what you will be told very commonly is that's just the way things are done here in Paraguay. Well, there's a lot of things that are done here in Paraguay. Sometimes it's done that way and many times it's done other ways. The important thing is that it's done in a way that best protects you. And there's no reason why a transaction cannot be crafted in such a way that it sufficiently protects both the buyer and the seller. It's my feeling that as new people are coming here from countries that previously there haven't been so many people coming from those particular places, there may be a different approach to the way that people are buying properties. And I think that people, at least from where I come from and perhaps different parts of Europe and the US, may be less inclined to take significant risks when it comes to things like putting down significant deposits for property. I know, at least in my case, and the people that I know, they're not really keen on this whole idea of putting down a significant amount, paying it to the vendor and hoping for the best. To whatever extent we can on this channel, I want to encourage people coming here to adopt a similar attitude. Sure, we want to buy properties. I know people who are here who have been here for a significant amount of time and cannot buy a property either because the right property can't be found, or when they do, there's some funny business that's played, or they try and buy it and something falls through. The sooner this country starts to get acclimatized to the risk-averse way of buying property, I think it will be for the better, because the days of people just coming here and putting down significant amounts of money and hoping for the best, well, I'm hoping to see that out the door. We shouldn't be doing it, because this is not just working on a hypothetical. There are real cases. Unfortunately, I know some cases too close to home where exactly because these sort of practices, buyers have been done over. And it's not to anyone's interest. It's not to the interest of the buyers, obviously enough, because they're losing their money. But it's obviously not in the best interest of genuine sellers, because they're getting head-shy potential buyers, and it's creating this inertia in the market. There's no reason to be taking undue risks. We are the buyers, and this is a buyer's market. There are a lot of properties in Paraguay for sale. Don't take risks. There's actually no need to. please don't pay significant deposits for properties when that deposit is going to a seller. It makes no sense, and it provides a lot of incentive for that purchase to somehow be railroaded. We're working with some people to try and devise better ways to formulate the buying and selling process. It's not rocket science. It would be pretty much similar to the way that we do things in other countries. And it's done in such a way that we can buy a property, pay a deposit with assurance that the deposit is secure and that nobody has an incentive for the sale to fall over. And we'll make more videos about that as that comes through. But it's the steps along the way. And these are the things that, as we come to this country, we need to positively influence. We need to be active players. I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. I'm just giving you my 2 cents worth in regards to the way that we see this playing out, our approach to it, and the way that we encourage other people to think about it. Because there's so much opportunity here. There's so many good properties. We've worked these things out in so many other countries. There's no need for it to be such a problem here. And what I'd like to leave you with is this: don't fall into FOMO, fear of missing out. There are so many lovely properties here. And even if it's the property of your dreams, you should always be willing to walk away if the deal is dangerous or unsafe for you. So as much as you might like a property, there's always another one down the track. I hope you agree with me on this point. If not, that's fine. We're all free to make our own decisions, but at least you've got the information. So until next time, take care. Ciao.